Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macon-Bibb County Pre-Commission. Today is February the 20th, 2024, Tuesday, and the time is approximately 4:35. I'd like to welcome everyone here and call this meeting to order. We do have a couple of items, and then we have a presentation in just a moment. The first item is the approval of the minutes. This is the approval of the minutes for the February the 6th, 2024 Pre-Commission meeting. Can I get a motion to approve? A motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by Commissioner Bailey. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We sent the consent agenda. Item 3A is appointments to authorities, boards, and committees. This is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to appoint Robert Redmond. And Mr. Redmond, if you don't mind coming up to this microphone here, sir, to the Macon-Bibb County Planning and Zoning Commission. That seat was made vacant by the agreed upon resignation of Gary Bechtel. And you should have received in your package all the information concerning Mr. Redmond. But Mr. Redmond, as tradition here, we like to find out a little bit about you that we don't know already and why you think you'll be a good fit for this job.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Might be questioning that now. I had a couple folks ask me if I'm sure.
And speaking to that microphone, if you don't mind, raise it up a
Yeah,
little bit,
absolutely.
please.
Is this better?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. Thank you. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Long time Maconite, native Maconite, 46 years. Raised family here. Passionate about my hometown. Being a banker as my career since '97, so almost 30 years. Dealing with compliance, regulatory, regulations, that kind of stuff. Just feel like that would benefit me to support planning and zoning and where we're trying to move Macon forward.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. And Commissioner Wayne, did you have your light on purpose? Okay.
Like I always do, I'm going to ask you, you sure you want to do this? You got your armor on and ready to go, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you attended some meetings to see how they work?
I have.
Okay. And you sure you want to do it? Okay, never mind.
I'm sure.
Okay. At this time, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Cart, second by Commissioner Wynn or Jones. Mr. Wynn Jones. And all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We're going to move on to the presentations. Presentation tonight, Ms. Jewel Wilson is here. Do a presentation on the Macon Arts Alliance. You should receive something on your desk pertaining to this item that we got right now. And I know there's a presentation on there. So at this time, we're going to hear from her. And then at the end of that, if we have any questions or follow-up, then we'll address those accordingly.
Thank y'all for having me. I do have a little PowerPoint, but it kind of goes along with what you have in your packet. So in 2022 and then finished up in 2023, Macon did, we love a plan, did a music study. That came out of the cultural plan that we did in 2020, where there was a lot of talk about forming a music commission and how to make Macon a music city and how to take advantage of our music heritage and also our music present and our music future. So we thought we need to do a study and see where we are and really find out how we can do that. So in 2022, along with Mercer University, and Gary Gerber is here representing Mercer, and Visit Macon, Gary Wheat sends his apologies that he can't be here. Gary and Larry and I sort of formed a little executive committee, and we hired Sound Diplomacy. They're a global music strategy firm, and they came in, and the first year they spent some time talking to people. They did some one-on-one interviews, perhaps with some of y'all. They also had some community meetings, and then they had some targeted meetings. They met with music venues, they met with music education groups, and they met with musicians, and they met with the public. This was funded in part by Macon-Bibb County ARP funds through Visit Macon, so thank y'all for that, and also by Downtown Challenge, which is a project of the Community Foundation of Central Georgia and Georgia Power. So I appreciate the people who funded this study. The first part, when they came in 2022, that's when they were here on the ground talking to people and just trying to get a picture of what Macon's music ecosystem is. And the ecosystem includes musicians, it includes the administrative and management part of music production. And what they found out is we have great infrastructure and we have high quality artists, which doesn't surprise anybody who's out in Macon listening to music and listening to live music. But those artists and the music ecosystem need more development. So we want our musicians to be out making their careers playing music, not having a job in the day and playing music at night. And that's really from the art science standpoint, our goal for all artists is that they are professional artists in the sense that they make their living doing their craft. But they also found that some of our policies are unclear or inconsistent, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the recommendations. And that we have strong starting points with incubator programs like Mercer Music at Capricorn, where they provide opportunities for artists, and work hubs. And then they also found that transitioning to the digital market was difficult for artists. It's hard to monetize what went on in the pandemic when people were having online presentations of their music. So how artists are transitioning to that digital output needs some work. And then this is really what the presentation is about. There's a lot of opportunity for Macon and for our artists. We have a great geographic location, as we know. A lot of that came up with the building of the amphitheater, and this music study can really accent and help what the amphitheater is going to do for Macon as well. But our geographic location allows us to attract an audience. Downtown's accessible by foot. As you know, you can walk from venue to venue without any problem. A lot of cities don't have that. We have policies on to-go cups on Fridays. They would love to see that every day or every weekend. Our tourism-related industry is growing. Visit Macon's doing a great job. We have a lot of visitors to our city, and the cost of living here is manageable. So there's a lot of opportunity there to capitalize on as well. In phase 2 was mostly done by them off-site, where they did a lot of research about our ecosystem and then other music cities and how we compare to them. So the first thing they found was that there are 1,118 jobs in the music ecosystem, and that is 1.77% of our local employment. So 1.77% of people employed in Macon are employed in the music ecosystem. That's higher than the national average, a little bit. It's lower than Austin, Nashville, which has 6.4%, and New Orleans. And some of this information is to help everybody understand what the potential is and where we can go and where the opportunity is. Our total output generated, which is obviously a formula that they use, was 134.5 million, and the gross value added, which is sort of the output less the cost of goods sold, was 88.8 million. So the current music ecosystem is making an impact, but there is room for improvement and more economic development there. The next thing is the music value added per capita. So what bang are we getting for our buck? They take the output, divide it by the population, and that way we can compare what we're doing with other cities, even though we don't have the same population size. So our value added is $484, which is a little less than the national average. So you can see that there's some room for improvement there. And if you look at Austin, Nashville, and New Orleans on this slide, you can see where the opportunity is for us to go. Nashville is obviously a huge gold standard music city, but you can see what their economic output is per capita, and you can see that there is opportunity for growth. Some of the highlights, the regulatory analysis, they looked at some of our policies and regulations and compared them to other cities. So some of the highlights were that the sound policy is incomplete and needs definition. So, for example, recently, planning and zoning had to deal with some of that. We don't define decibels in our sound policy, like how many decibels can there be at each time of day. So if our policies were a little more defined, then that will make code enforcement easier, and it makes, when we talk about an entertainment district, it makes that easier as well. We don't have an agent of change policy, so if a music venue is there first and a neighborhood comes around it, then it's up to the neighborhood to provide sound mitigation. But if the neighborhood's there first and the music venue comes in, then it would be up to the music venue to provide sound mitigation, and that's not in our policy. We don't have a defined entertainment district, and this was something that was really important to them, that allows for some easier code and policy enforcement, some things like allowing food trucks, other things that could happen. For example, Austin, I think, has seven or nine entertainment districts. You can have more than one. And then you can have different code and different policy for those entertainment districts. We just finished the Arts and Economic Prosperity Study 6, which is just nonprofit arts and culture organizational economic impact. We did a micro study of downtown, and we found that 90% of the nonprofit arts and culture audience happens downtown. So we have some data that backs up what we all know anecdotally, which is that most people are going downtown for entertainment. But it's also not to say that you can't define and grow an entertainment district somewhere else as well. Certainly out around the amphitheater is a great opportunity for an entertainment district. We don't have a busking policy, so musicians who might be playing on the street for donations, we have no policy around that regulates what they can do and when they can do it. And then another big one was economic development incentives. So if we decided or that we want more family-friendly music venues, then you can provide some tax incentive or some kind of economic incentive for those people that are doing what you want them to do, as opposed to or in conjunction with punishing people who maybe are doing what you don't want them to do. And that way we can grow the music economy in the way that we want it to grow. And then we need some more professional development and talent retention. We're missing a little of the back end of music production and music management. There's not a lot of talent agency in music production here. And that's where we're missing some of the jobs as well. So the last thing they did was recommendations. And some of the highlights were to hire a cultural officer. This is really one of the few things that cost money in their recommendations as well. This was also called for in the cultural plan. And this person could be over music, film, and public art, say. They would be a liaison to a music board, which is the second recommendation, to the film commission, to the public art board, between the commission and those boards. And they would get up every day thinking about, number one, how to implement this plan, but also how to create or implement a public art plan, how to work with the film industry, anything that's art or cultural related. This person would wake up every day thinking about that from a government perspective. Next, create a music board. That would help us all work together. Help venues. I had a great meeting with Sheldon Land. He is, by the way, a fabulous human being. And we talked about how venues like the Douglas Theater can take advantage of what's happening in the amphitheater. How you've got a big concert that's coming, and what can a smaller venue do based on what the amphitheater is doing to make people spend another night. And so there's a lot, if we had a music board and could get people on the same page in the room together, that could be done to help everybody and increase our music output. And then also formalizing downtown as an entertainment district. So where do we go from here? I'm sorry the mayor stepped out, because we go forward together. And that's really what we want to do, is have us all work together to help Macon become a stronger music city, to join a music city network, to take advantage of not just our music history, but our music present and our music future, so that we can have this opportunity for economic growth that we can see in the boring data from the other cities, the other music cities. We can see how far it is that we can go and make money together as well. So, does anybody have any questions about all of that? It's a lot of information.
Can you do it?
Try now.
Okay, yeah, that's
Commissioner
good.
Wynn.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you, Acting Mayor Clark. I love the idea of create a one-stop shop for music-related regulations, because that's important to have it all in one spot. So this doesn't
Some of that idea, we were sort of thinking like a website where somebody goes. We also really need that for film and some other things as well. And also how we get people to go there, right? Because there's a lot of information on the Macon-Bibb County website, I'm sure, but people still don't know it's there. But that, I think, is very important. I agree with you.
But you're talking about a physical location too, aren't you?
Well, there could be a physical location. Some of the, it comes up with art and small business and everything that it's hard to, where do you go to get this license or this policy? Or like if we had a busking policy, where do you go to get license for 2 months to, play music in downtown Macon, or to have an event outside? So, where is that place would be, and that would be a great first job too for the cultural officer, is to figure out, especially not just for music, but film and public art too, where's the place that you go?
Yeah, the entertainment as a whole. The
Yes.
entertainment district is downtown is considered an entertainment district right now. But you got a lot of lofts down here with people, and that's been accepted. I think they kind of all came in at the same time.
Right.
So I think they're all living happily together, but I'm not sure. And when the advocate for the appointment of a nighttime officer, would that be a police officer?
No, so
Or what is
that's
that?
also called for in the Macon Action Plan. And when they did that hospitality industry study, it is a person, it could be a police officer, Alex might can speak to that more, but it is a person who is basically in charge of the nighttime economy, who is awake and working during those hours so that there is responsiveness to a problem if it happens, and who sees how things work at night. And some cities call them a nighttime mayor. We don't really, it's not an elected person, right? So that's not really why, but it's really a person who's in charge and over the nighttime economy.
So that would be different than the cultural officer himself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Interesting information.
Commissioner Bronson? Hold on. Push your
Hello.
button again.
Hey.
There we go.
Great presentation, first and foremost. Kind of sharing, I'll say this much, sharing the district with Commissioner Watkins, that has been a big conversation, of course, from those guys that's downtown. The Tally Marshalls, the Ray Wilsons, the owners of the number of businesses in the downtown area. Hearing the conversation of the nightlife has been like one of the top key things. So this is definitely a plus, hearing that coming from you now, right? As stated before, like, so where do we go from here? That's one of those questions I do agree with you on. Is what's the next steps that we need to take on that end? And then, of course, the culture officer. I was asking Commissioner Lucas, would that fall up under, or could that fall up under Visit Macon's arena to kind of house that position and kind of move it forward from there?
So I think, for me, the cultural officer, whether it's under Macon Arts Alliance or the government or Visit Macon, the office needs to be in the government building, because it needs to be somebody who goes to commission meetings and committee meetings and listens and is thinking with that cultural mindset when something comes up. Oh, it's somebody that knows every one of you, that can say, here's something that the nighttime officer came to me and said, this is a problem. This might be a policy that we need to think about.
Okay.
So whoever pays for that person, right, it can be different, but I think they need to be housed here.
Here at City Hall, okay. And then as far as the policies and whatnot goes, I'm looking at you, Michael, or Duke, either one. How soon could we possibly start on this process as far as getting policies in place, or at least drafting policies to get this thing started? Just out of curiosity, not to overstep the mayor or Mayor Pro Tem here. How soon could we start on something along those lines? Taking off his jacket. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dun, 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 dun.
If you do it in the next 15 minutes, we can probably get it on the agenda.
Okay, so we can do policy. You just tell us what the rules are, and we can put them together. Whatever the policies are that you want. If you say do everything that was in the slideshow, I mean, it's just a matter of
Really?
the
Let's make that vote before he gets back. Oh, no, I'm kidding. But okay.
Some of it may require some practical considerations or talking to other people or whatever. But that's
So
a policy
one
prerogative.
of the key things I would like to get is of course, with you, the report that you all have provided thus far. For me, it's very important that we get community involvement, right? Get community input. So I would definitely like to see a meeting at some point in time, if possible, with the business owners in the downtown area, the nightlife owners downtown, and kind of get a feel for what needs to be taken, to also include the surrounding businesses that are there as well. I know one of the big things has been the police presence, and we're working close hand with the sheriff on that end to kind of enforce that. We have cameras and so forth, but this report that you're giving for today would definitely increase the footprint and the foot traffic for downtown, and I think that overall can also help out with the entertainment areas throughout, of course, South Macon, North Macon, and parts of East Macon as well. So let's move this forward. Thank you again for the presentation.
The full study is on our website. It's 177 pages if you want to peruse that at your leisure.
Oh, that's nice.
But it does include some, and this to me is one place to start, where when it talks about sound policy, it says this is what Denver, Colorado does. And I looked it up just for example. It's 50 decibels a certain time of day up to like 60 decibels a certain time of day. Because when somebody says to me 90 decibels, you have no idea what that is, right? So I was just curious. So there are some examples of regulations in there from other communities.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, I too want to commend you and thank you for this presentation. And I do know that other cities, first I want to say, we're at a point where we can make a lot of progress in a lot of areas. We've got additional resources now that can be utilized in different areas to improve the quality of life for everybody and to include more people in what we do in the community. So I want to thank you for the report. And I also want to mention that I think Atlanta, in the mayor's administration, there is a position like this. They also have a lot of other kinds of positions that oversee improvements in a lot of different cultural areas. And I think Macon is at that point where we need to go ahead and capitalize on our potential. And so this is one of those things. And we've kind of worked together in the past on some of these kinds of things. So I'm glad to see it coming back in this form. But I would like to encourage us to move forward on as many of these as we can. And while we're in a positive financial position too, it's best to do everything you can to enhance what happens for your folks.
Yes.
As you possibly can. So those were the comments I wanted to make, but mainly thank you and the others for continuing the work, because I know it's been a long haul and starts and stops, but I certainly endorse this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
Yeah, thank you. I echo all of the sentiments that have already been said. I want to, before I ask this question, I would like to preface it by agreeing with the timing that Commissioner Lucas brought up. I think really the underlying premise of the economic impact section of phase 2 of the study is it only happens with the increased visitation. I think we are, with the passage of the OLOST, it's studies like this and innovative policies like this that matched with that tax structure that allows us to continue to roll people's property taxes back.
Right.
So these projects are not done on the backs of people that are paying enough already, but that's how we fund it. That said, will you talk through the just kind of the process of coming up with these economic impact study numbers, because a little bit further, because I think a lot of these feel like it's just sort of made up out of thin air, and these are scientific data points. I'd love for you to just expound on it a little bit.
And the other thing that I think is interesting about this is because they did this study, as I said, they went back and looked at census numbers and all of that. A lot of it was done from 2020, which, as we know, was a terrible year for music and entertainment and everything else. So likely the economic output for us right now is higher than this. But they use their formulas and their policies, and they went back and looked at data from, it was different from AEP where they actually survey organizations, but they look at data and come up with the numbers, and then there's a calculator like everything else that says.
And all of this, all that's in the 177-page study
It
that's on the
is.
website. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for
In
putting
fact,
this together.
at the beginning, I think it talks about their, how they do it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for putting this together, and thank you for everybody involved. And like I said, echo the sentiments that if we can get some of these balls rolling in short order, I think we would be fools not to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yeah, the only shame about this is if we didn't have this several years ago when we still had the Music Hall of Fame, you know.
Well, you know, maybe we can bring something
That's
back.
what I'm thinking. Maybe that'll start over again. We can get something back down here. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank y'all.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you being here today, and I appreciate all the information. It is a very detailed report. I have had a chance to review 177 pages. Thanks for sending that to me a while back. And I think that many of those actions will probably are ripe for consideration now with this commission. So we certainly will start looking at that. And there's some others that we have other steps to do before that. So thank you for all the work that you continue to do for our community. Thank you, everybody, for being here today to support that. And we look forward to what the next day brings.
All right, thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
At this time, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the contracts and purchase orders for approval. The first item is item 5A. This is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a statewide mutual aid assistance agreement with the Georgia EMA and Homeland Security Agency and participating jurisdictions. This is what we do every year, so this time I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to item B, which is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to approve issuance of a purchase order to Tyler Technologies for New World Safety software licenses in an amount of $301,346.93 payable from the IT department budget, enterprise applications. At this time, we'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Lucas. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Mayor Pro Tem forgot his agenda over here. All right, and this time we'll move on to item 5C. This is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute independent contractor agreements with MacFace Marketplace, CO, and Express Services to provide temporary laborers as needed for manual labor projects to be paid from the solid waste budget, collections, contract labor line item, and that's the line item listed. We have two of these that we're approving. They're temporary laborers in order to make sure that the work gets done outside of our own department that we have. It was necessary to get the manpower. I know Commissioner Wynn had messaged me earlier about why we had two, and those were identified as two that met all the qualifications necessary and it could furnish the labor that we needed. One just simply was not getting it done in today's environment, so we have two that qualify, and we'll be using those under contract services, and we're allocating these additional funds there to keep up with the work that we have going on in the community. So, Commissioner Wynn?
Also asked you about why we weren't using prisoner labor, and for the public that's watching this, I'd like if you would respond to that too, because I get asked that question. I'm sure you do.
Yeah, we get that all the time. Certainly, since COVID, they stopped a lot of the prison labor. But quite honestly, the prison labor at times is more expensive than we can use for these companies. And these companies are people who are paying taxes generally in our district, and allows them to earn an income and keep people gainfully employed. So that's the main reason. Number one, you have to book a yearly contract with them, identify all the areas and time. But number two, it actually costs more money. So this is a cost savings. It's for seasonal work. Generally, about this time of the year, we've done a lot of work for the year. We kind of evaluate whether we have enough in the budget or not, and we go back to doing that. We have, sometimes you'll see G-Wing, which is kind of an earned position for our local jail. And those men and women there that are on G-Wing as a trustee, they get to sometimes go out, say they get to, but they go out and do work in some local jobs that we have around town, so you will see them from time to time, but honestly, it costs more money, and I'd rather use folks that are out free, willing to work, and earn the income for their families. So,
When they do go out, do they get paid?
uh,
The
there's
prisoners
there's a benefit there. I'm not sure of the amount that they get. Yeah.
And there was one more thing I wanted to ask you about. How do we set up a schedule for where they do pick up of waste and
The sheriff
debris and-
does that, but Dr. Moffett will send a message to them if we get hot spots, just like we do for other community service projects, that we've got complaints on or areas that we couldn't pick up ourselves, and let them know. But a lot of times, the sheriff has his own department that handles that.
'cause
Like when we had the
we all
Brookdale.
have hot spots, I'm sure, in our districts. I know I've got some and see them in others too, so we want to coordinate that, I'm sure, so
Right.
those can get cleaned up.
Well, thank you for that. And like I said, anytime we have those trouble spots, if you'll let Dr. Moffett know, we do prioritize those things, and we use some contractual services for that. So any other questions regarding these particular temporary services? If not, I entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Jones, second by Commissioner Lucas. I knew it was a female voice, but I couldn't tell. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, that'll be sent to consent agenda. Item D is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Francis and Wade Limited CO in an amount of $68,000 for the provision of consulting services for Linear Park project to be paid from the grants fund Linear Park. I'm going to ask Mr. Alex Morrison, if you don't mind coming forward, sir. I know you like to speak to these groups. Just a little bit about it. First of all, just tell us a little bit about what's going on at Linear Park and what these funds will be used for and where the money's coming from, sir.
Right. Thank you very much. Alex Morrison, Director of Planning and Public Spaces. And the funding for this is actually from a competitive state grant that we won last year to improve Linear Park. If you're not familiar, Linear Park is the actually heretofore unnamed strip of land adjacent to the interstate in Pleasant Hill that was part of the mitigation project of I-75. The Pleasant Hill Neighborhood Organization has identified that as a key piece of engagement and improvement for that neighborhood, and we were able to use the strategic planning that had been done by that organization to win that competitive grant last year. We've been in the design phase so far on separate funding to make sure that we have the right improvements for the park. And this funding, the $68,000, is part of the 1.375 that we were allocated for this project. This will be for community engagement and project management.
Okay. Thank you for that information. Mayor Pro Tem Clark, you had a question?
I was going to ask if this was part of that original lump sum. And thank you. I think this is great. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you all for applying for this and staying on top of it.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Bronson, have a question?
Yeah, I echo the sentiments of Mayor Pro Tem. Beat me to the punch on that one. But no, I just wanted to ask, great work on this end. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor as well. And just wanted to kind of ask in regards to the funding that we do have, right? Will that possibly include speed cushions or crosswalks, any of that work that takes place around the area of Booker T leading into that particular area, or is it just?
So the funding that we have from the grant is specifically for improvements in the park and approaches to the park. So on on Monroe Street where Booker T is, you wouldn't have out there, but on 2nd Avenue, on 1st Avenue and Middle Street, yes.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Wynn?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know I was full of questions this afternoon by text, but I wanted to ask, this park looks nice. I've been there before to look at it. And this money and this service that's being provided, it talked about community involvement and also naming this park. And I wanted to know how the community was going to be involved. How is that going to happen? And naming this park is going to be important to Pleasant Hill. So, I want to know how they're going to do that, how they're going to communicate and keep up. And they said they're going to communicate with the people in the area and let them know what's going on. How is that going to happen?
So, big reveal. The person who is behind Francis and Wade is Tanja Kabir, who is a Pleasant Hill resident and community advocate, and has been doing this work in Pleasant Hill for the last several years, leading that strategic
Well,
planning.
maybe I
effort.
should ask her, huh?
Yeah. So I would say if you would like, she could come up and address the specifics of the engagement process.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Thank you, Ms. Kabir, for being here tonight, and I can't think of a better person to lead this effort with her involvement in the area. So you heard Commissioner Wynn's question there, so just tell us how you're going to operate and making sure people are actively engaged and involved in the community.
Yes, thank you so much. So first, we have several grants that we've gotten in the past that have allowed the Pleasant Hill Neighborhood Organizations Board to come together. They've already been meeting on a monthly basis, but being able to work with them through that process based on other grants has created a process, if you will, to communicate with the neighborhood already. So we'll go ahead and use that existing process where we meet regularly, monthly, every second Saturday. But we'll also have specific community engagement events. So similar to the events that we had to help draft what they wanted the park to look like, we'll have separate sessions where people will be able to actually vote on that process. And as he spoke about, we worked with Interface Studios to help develop the park, develop the design of the park. And in that process, we already started out by asking people, hey, what would you like to name this space?
Okay.
And so some of them started naming all kinds of wonderful and beautiful things. And so we'll just continue to structure that process and keep it moving forward. So we're hoping to be able to use events like the Pleasant Hill Neighborhood Reunion, which happens every second Saturday in June, to be able to, as people are already gathered, as well as an opportunity to continue to ask people, what would you like to name the park? But there will be a system that's created where we'll have the board also vote on like the top 3 names as well.
I know there'll be a lot of citizens' names that'll be thrown out there because there are a lot of prominent citizens from Pleasant Hill that you'd want to name a park like that after. So the idea of having a cookout or a gathering would be good for the neighborhood to have input there, maybe give you those, and they're already doing it, but giving you names for the park. But I think it's going to be important for the Pleasant Hill neighborhood.
What's also good and interesting is that with the park redesign, there will be several things like a pavilion and a bike path, and those are also opportunities that we can slap a name on as well. So it's not just the top name that will get the park's name. There'll still be opportunities to memorialize people in other spaces of the park as well.
That's good, because you got Booker T. Washington over there now, so something to go along with that. But I like the idea of naming some other things after other people, I guess. But thank you for your work on it. Going to be work on this or working on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wynn. Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
Yeah, thank you for everything you're doing. I just want, this is more for the mayor and for Dr. Moffett. We all, Tanja, when we rode around and there were some code enforcement things on the edges of Linear Park, would you mind pointing those out for, so we can get those to the code enforcement agents just whenever is most convenient? So, because I don't want that to slip. It just popped into my mind.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we answered all the questions, and I appreciate that presentation by both of those involved. We'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Clark, second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to consent agenda. Thank you for being here tonight. Item E is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the issuance of a purchase order in the amount of $200,000 to Meade Road Transfer Station for services related to disposal of debris and waste from the demolition of blighted houses. This is going to be paid from our blight elimination fund. Basically, this is for the landfill tipping since we don't have a landfill any longer. So at this time, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Howell, second by Commissioner Jones. Question by Commissioner Wynn.
Yeah, here's my question again. I was full of them today. Since we, and correct me if I'm wrong, when we tear down houses, the demolition cost is charged back to the property owner? No? Or we put it as
Depends on the
a
process.
lien? Yeah.
Depends on the process. Right now, if we hire a third-party company to do the demolition, they will take that to their place of do business with. If we do it in-house ourselves through our public works department, we take it to a transfer station in Macon, which is closer by for us, and that's where these fees are coming in. The funding on those things about liens and all that stuff has to go through the process depending on which mode that we use to get rid of that home.
But could we put some of this cost that's for dumping it along with that demolition
Certainly,
cost.
where
So
we're
I think
applicable, we file liens,
Okay.
and we're allowed by law.
Well, that's what I want to make
Yeah.
sure we consider all.
We
all
always
things
attempt to
like-
try to tear down, try to replace those funds for tearing down the properties, but sometimes we're allowed to do that, and sometimes it's just best to get rid of the property, and we'll increase the property
Well,
value
anytime
that
we
way.
can get back some money, I think we need to think about it.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, we entertain a motion for approval. A motion by, who is that? Who did? My bad. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution on item F is a resolution of the Bibb County Commission to authorize the mayor to execute an amendment to the professional services assessment with the Southern Behavioral Services in an annual amount of up to $99,320 to provide services to operate the Employee Assistance Program for Macon-Bibb County employees to be paid from the general fund, Human Resources. Don't necessarily want to talk in depth on this, but this is to increase the number of visits allowed from 3 to 8. In today's environment, it is okay not to be okay. And we've had a lot of people, not only that work for us, but in our community that have thinking about suicide and other things, and we must address that. So one of the ways that we're addressing that, along with other drug and alcohol addictions and things of that nature, or just trauma, is by increasing the number of visits there. So that's the purpose of this and the purpose of that increase in funds. Commissioner Wynn, you have a question?
Yeah, and I think this is going to be my last question on these, because I asked you about it while we would have going from three sessions to 8 sessions. Could we not go from 3 to 5? What is it? Is it certain types of issues that require more sessions? If we did from 3 to 5 sessions, or 3 to 6 even, we'd still give more people opportunities to come in and be counseled.
First, good afternoon, commissioners. Commissioner Wynn, this is going back. We originally were at 8 for years, and we actually switched vendors,
Yeah.
which dropped it down to 3. But that vendor did not meet all our needs, so we went back to the original vendor. And so that's why when we went back to the original vendor, that contract kind of mirrored, and we kept that number 3. It was an oversight. And so we've now going back to that 8. But to go back to your question, yes, it is recommended that a up to number of 8. That does not mean a person has to do 8, but it gives them an opportunity up to a number of 8 to get their issues adequately addressed. Past that, then it goes on to the insurance, and then that's a whole nother process from that standpoint. But the number 8 is the recommended number, and that's the number that we had for years.
Is that for certain types of issues?
It's for
to-
all counseling sessions.
So any type of counseling could go
Yes.
up to 8 sessions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's what it was before,
Yes, ma'am.
and we dropped down to 3, and now we're back to 8 again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Commissioner Lucas?
Thank you. Dr. Moffitt, well, first of all, I want to say I'm glad to see some more focus on this, because more and more people are realizing, what was it you said? It's okay not to be okay. And for a lot of people, they just don't want folks saying they're crazy, when in fact you're crazy if you don't get some help, if you need it. My question relates to training of supervisors, those in position to interact or direct services for employees. Is there training, professional development for supervisors to help them in recognizing?
Yes,
Because a
ma'am.
lot of people act very normally, but there are some things that are happening that someone who's trained can pick up on and, refer an
Yes.
employee.
Yes, ma'am. I probably have not done it in a year, but yes, the training is recommended when the vendor comes in, and at my department head meeting, and they train the department heads on signs and how to have that conversation, that initial conversation. But for the most part, they are to contact HR, and then HR calls the employee in and then tells them about the option of EAP and what other services are available. When I say other, anything that can go to your primary doctor and things of that nature. But we try to do it confidential with the employee, not to draw a lot of attention
Right.
to it.
Are the HR folks also trained? I
Yes, ma'am.
know in getting their degrees, they received a certain amount of training.
Yes, ma'am.
That just goes with HR training. But are they kept up to date too as far as their training so that they know what they're doing and interacting with employees?
Yes, ma'am. I believe so, but I cannot guarantee dates of training within the last 6 months to the year. But that is very important. That is very uh, that they treat all employees with
Right.
compassion and follow whatever guidelines are from the vendor of how we identify and get employees to their first counseling session, and then from there, the counselor decides the program that the employee needs.
Right. And the human resources will find too that there are some little surveys um, that are done a lot of times now very routinely. When you go for a doctor's appointment, you do a survey, which gives an indication if there's something happening without the person even realizing they're saying that. And I'm just wondering if we have anything.
We do that. We do that during open enrollment. We have all employees when they sign up for their benefits. We do a program where it talks about home life, financial life. What are some of the stressors in life? And from there, the employee is scored. And if a particular score is flagged, then that employee is referred.
Okay, that's excellent. And I think it doesn't need to just be one time, because life situations change. And, one day you could be perfectly fine, and then a life situation comes along that kind of puts you in danger. So I just think just kind of check and make sure our human resources department is dealing all the time with employees. And so what you've said is very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. At this time, I entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Motion by Commissioner Lucas. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. I've got item 6A. I've got to tell the commissioners we do have a need to go into executive session tonight, so we'll be doing that at the end of the pre-commission meeting. Item 6A is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission ratifying the signing of an agreement with Warren Associates in the amount of $315,257 for emergency repair services for Lake Tobisoffke docks and seawall. At this time, I get a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Wilder. We have a second. Second by, I'll let her, Howell, she says Howell. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to grants. Item 7A is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing acceptance of a summer 2024 Georgia County Internship Program grant from the ACCG Civic Affairs Foundation, amount of $3,259 with a local match of up to $250 to be paid from the sponsor's project budget for the Macon Judicial Circuit Public Defender Summer Internship Program. That's a lot of information. Our responsibility is $250. This is part of the GCIP, and we're asking you to approve this. Can we get a motion to approve? Motion by Bronson, second by Wynn. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 7B is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing acceptance of a summer 2024 Georgia County Internship Program. Same thing, $3,259.50 with a local match of up to $2,400. Is that right? $2,400 to be paid from the county attorney's office budget. Oh, it's coming out of their budget. I'm okay. For the Macon-Bibb County Attorney's Office Internship Program. This time I entertain a motion for approval of that item. Got a motion and a second for those two down there. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. We have two street dedications that we removed from the last time to make a couple of clarifications on there. Item 8A is an ordinance of Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate a portion of the Robinson Road running between Hollingsworth Road and Durge Drive in honor of Reverend Curtis Raines Sr. in recognition of his years of service and leadership to New Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church and the Macon-Bibb County community, to appropriate funds of not to exceed $500 from the general fund balance to Facilities Department for the purchase of materials and memorial signage. As a motion by Commissioner Brendan Bailey, do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor on that if the sponsor has no objections. I grew up in Bellevue and I knew both pastors, Raines, both of whom are deceased, but they're much loved by a lot of folks. And so if she'll allow, I'd like to sign on.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure Ms. Bailey would allow. Ms. Bailey, you have some comments to make. If you do, pull that microphone down, if you don't mind.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. And just for the benefit of those that are with us now and those in our viewing audience that may not have met the Reverend Curtis Raines Sr., the Reverend Curtis Raines Sr. was a spiritual, what we call a powerhouse, that gave the full measure of his life in service to his fellow man, first in the United States Army and then in the Army National Guard. And then upon retirement from both, he returned to civilian life as a veteran, employed with Ronald Robins Air Force Base. Here he served 27 years of unfailing service as the production general manager of sheet metal manufacturing. Curtis Raines Sr. began his education in public schools of Upton County. He also attended the American Baptist Theological Seminary, Progressive Baptist Church Seminary, Georgia Baptist Theological Seminary, Mercer University Baptist College. He was licensed in the ministry in 1980 and ordained as a minister in 1981. He also attended the Emmanuel Baptist College, where he earned a Bachelor's of Theology in June 1995 and a Master's of Pastoral Ministry in May 1997. In his youth, his church membership began at the Mount Vernon Baptist Church here in Macon, Georgia. He served 33 years as pastor of New Pilgrimage Baptist Church here in Macon, Georgia, and New Zion Baptist Church in Bolingbrook. He grew his ministry to well over 1,000 parishioners. He also served as secretary of the Union Baptist and Educational Association, president of the 6th District General Missionary Baptist Convention, chairman of the board of the Adopt a Role Model Program here in Macon, Georgia, president of the Bellevue Hillcrest Ministerial Association. He also served as the board of directors, parents to support public schools. He then served as the president of the Congress for the Mount Pleasant Association and a member of the board of trustees of the Wesley Glen Ministries. And thereafter, he became vice president of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia. Shortly after that, he became the president of that particular ministry. He was president of the General Missionary Baptist Convention of Georgia, and it is under this umbrella that he united Georgia Baptist ministers throughout the state of Georgia, urging them to become one acting body geared towards growth and development of its communities, to continuously collaborate, invest in people, and to spread the gospel. In this position, Reverend Curtis Raines Sr. provided powerful leadership and devoted oversight to over 800 churches within the state of Georgia. His life and his history became a legacy and a blueprint for generations to come. His mission, to leave this world in a better condition than he found it, and to create leaders that will invest their talents in others, just as he had done. To be a friend, to be a mentor, and to fight against poverty, illiteracy, substance abuse, homelessness, family violence, and then to be a spiritual shepherd to all those in need. And after many years of service to his congregation, communities, and families, the Reverend Curtis Raines Sr. passed away in 2015, leaving his legacy upon his family and church that have not forgotten the sum of his life that was taught. Whereas a testimony to his love of the gospel and his work The Reverend Curtis Raines Senior Foundation was created to advocate for and assist citizens in obtaining increased access to affordable medical and mental health care.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. I know a lot about Curtis Raines Senior, and certainly you've expounded on a lot more that I did not know about it. So we do have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries unanimously, be sent to consent agenda. Item B is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate the portion of Hollingsworth Road running between Robinson Road and Hacienda Court in honor of Reverend Bryant Raines, who is the son of Curtis Raines Sr., in recognition of his years of service and leadership to New Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church and the Macon-Bibb community. Appropriation of up to $500 from the general fund balance to the Facilities Department. That is a motion sponsored by Commissioner Brendan Bailey. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Going to move on to item 9A, and if you want to make comments on his, we'll let you put that in the record a little bit later, Ms. Bailey. Item 9A is an ordinance of Macon-Bibb County Commission to make a mid-year budget adjustment to amend the fiscal year 2024 budget by amending revenue lines to recognize the increased revenue received today in amount of $1,160,000 and appropriating $14,333,909 for general fund and appropriating various expense line items, including certain capital improvements in a total amount of $15,493,909. As you can imagine, each year we always do a mid-year adjustment as well as what we call a CIP. Last year, our CIP was $36 million. This year, we're only allocating about $6 million of that, but we are doing what we did in 2021, and that was to prepay some debt expense for next year. So that debt expense is approximately $9.9 million, and that's included in the figure you have here. So at this time, you've seen some of the items on there. You received a detailed, probably a 50-page report on the items that we're purchasing based on items received from various departments. Keep in mind that we do have a potential a SPOS next year. I'm thinking about school system coming up that we will be including other items on, and we also reserve the right to amend the budget again to add additional items that may become necessary before our budget sometime in May or June. So that's a lot to say, but having said that, at this time, I entertain a motion to approve the mid-year budget adjustment in the CIP. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Clark, second by Commissioner Mallory Jones. Any questions? Hearing no questions, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. This time, we do have a need to go in executive session for the consultation with county attorney or other legal counsel to discuss pending or potential litigation, settlement of claims, administrative proceedings, and all other judicial actions allowed by law. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We're now in executive session. And we will come back with a potential item on the agenda as well. Thank you. So, Mr. Mender. Mr. Mender. I got a motion to come out of executive session. A motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. We're now out of executive session. We're going to move on to purchase and sale agreements. That's on the agenda. This is a purchase, an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to sign documents that are necessary to purchase certain parcels of real estate property totaling 1.34 acres, more or less, at an amount not to exceed $730,000 in the appropriate such funds with the general fund and for other lawful purposes. Can I get a motion to approve? Commissioner Bronson, you'd like to co-sponsor that, sir? I got a Commissioner Bronson motion. Can I get a second? Second from Wynn Jones again down there. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, will be sent to consent agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, this completes our pre-commission. It's now 6:05. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back ready for our regularly scheduled meeting in about 6:10. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Macon-Bibb County regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, February the 20th, and the time is now 6:12. I'd like to welcome everyone here today. We'll begin our meeting like we always do, which is a call to order, followed by the prayer. The prayer tonight will be led by Reverend Tracy Hips from Morningside Baptist Church. Welcome tonight, sir. If you don't mind, come up to the microphone there. We'll begin with a prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So those of you can and will, please stand and bow your heads.
Bow with me at this time, if you would, please. Father God, as we approach your throne of grace right now, Father, and I want to thank you for every aspect and every person in this room right now, Father God. And thank you, Father, for allowing us to be here. And Father, as we come into your presence, God, I pray for this mayor, each one of these commissioners, those who have been given the responsibility for Macon-Bibb County, and that, God, every decision that they would make would bring honor and glory to you. And we pray, Father God, that you would give them the wisdom and the knowledge and all that they need, God, for the betterment of our community and for the glory of God for who you are. And so, Father God, right now, we just humbly bow before you. And we just pray, God, tonight that all would be done according to your will. For it's in Jesus' holy name that I do pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Tonight we have a presentation, and that presentation is a presentation of Proclamation, Honor, and Black History. And I'd ask Ms. Sharice Merriweather, as well as Commissioner Lane Lucas, if you'll come down front and read the proclamation.
That was my Fonnie Willis walk.
Oh, Lord.
We'd like to ask all of the folks who are here to receive this proclamation from a very grateful Macon-Bibb County Mayor. Would you join us?
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there in just a second.
Are you?
I'll be down there.
Okay. This is a proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, Macon-Bibb County, Georgia, and it reads, whereas the Macon-Bibb Office of Small Business Affairs, the Macon Middle Georgia Black Pages, the Central Georgia Coalition of Black Businesses, the Wimberley Institute, the NAACP, the Martin Luther King Board, You Create Macon, Macon Black Culture, Urban CEO, Major Taylor Kidd, Washington Library, and others are celebrating and recognizing Black History Month, a national observance in concert with many local organizations. And whereas during Black History Month, we celebrate the legacy of Black Americans whose power to lead, to overcome, and to expand the meaning and practice of American democracy has helped our nation become a more fair and a fairer and more just society. And whereas African Americans have made significant contributions to the economic, educational, political, artistic, literary, scientific, and technological advancements of the United States. And whereas Black Americans have made a way not only for themselves, but also have helped build a highway for millions of women, immigrants, other historically marginalized communities, and all Americans to more fully experience the benefits of our society. And now, therefore, the mayor, the Honorable Lester M. Miller, along with the 160,000 residents of Macon-Bibb County, do hereby proclaim February 2024 as Black History Month in Macon-Bibb County, and all citizens are urged to join all of us in honoring the many contributions made by African Americans throughout this region and to participate in the many educational events honoring the contributions of Black Americans. In witness whereof, the mayor has hereunto set his hand and caused the seal of Macon-Bibb's consolidated government to be affixed. It's my honor and privilege as the longest serving, probably, elected official in Macon-Bibb to present this to the Honorable Lester Miller to recognize these very fine individuals and organizations. Y'all can clap.
And just briefly, thank you, Commissioner Lucas. The Macon-Bibb Office of Small Business Affairs has been working really hard with all our department heads. You'll be seeing some additional initiatives, but we're so excited to celebrate Black History Month with you today. Thank you.
Oh, Lord. All right, don't start, and I won't be nothing now. Let's go. All right. We are going to have, any public comments on agenda items? We have 0, so we'll have some on non-agenda items in just a moment. Tonight, we have item 7A, which is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission to approve the consent agenda. The consent agenda was voted on individually at our pre-commission meeting for those that were with us tonight. So we're going to vote on items A through N to approve the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Lucas, yes,
Can we
ma'am.
pull out, please, the recognition of Reverend Curtis Raines and the recognition of the late Reverend Bryant Raines for individual votes, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Accepting the two that Commissioner Lucas will take a motion to approve the consent agenda as otherwise published. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. We'll go ahead and take on the two individual ones, and I'll read those as follows. The ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate the portion of Robinson Road running between Hollingsworth Road and Durs Drive in honor of Reverend Curtis Raines Sr. in recognition of his years of service and leadership to New Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church in the Macon-Bibb County community, to appropriate an amount not to exceed $500 from the general fund balance to Facilities Management Department for the purchase of materials and memorial signage. And of course, we'll do this in a fashion that we generally do by notifying the family and all interested parties involved when we do the signage. At this time, there was a motion by Commissioner Brendan Bailey and need a second by Mr. Paul Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Item I is ordinance to Macon-Bibb County Commission to dedicate the portion of Hollingsworth Road running between Robinson Road and Hacienda Court in honor of Reverend Bryant Raines in recognition of his years of service and leadership to New Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church in Macon-Bibb County, an appropriation of up to not to exceed $500 from the general fund balance to Facilities Management Department for the purchase of materials and memorial signage. Likewise, that motion was sponsored by a resolution by Ms. Brendolyn Bailey. And can I get a second on that? Commissioner Bronson would like to second that one also. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion passes unanimously. At this time, we have one public comment on non-agenda item. We have the Reverend Lydia Meredith. Good to see you again, Ms. Meredith, if you don't mind coming up there. Got your red on just like Commissioner Lucas.
Sisters know what to do.
If you don't mind speaking to that microphone, you know you got 5 minutes and you won't hurt my feelings if you use 3.
Good evening, Commissioners and Honorable Mayor Miller. I'm here again to advocate for the cure of crime and blight in Macon-Bibb County. Tonight, I want to talk to you about my street. In March of 2021, I bought my house on Cortland Avenue. And recently, I moved in during the Christmas holiday. My street is a microcosm of the social and economic problems of this city. I have reported 5 housing violations and zoning violations on my street since I moved. One house has 8 inoperable cars parked in his backyard and 4 in his front yard. One house has an RV camper parked in front of his house. In such a condition, emergency vehicles would find it difficult to impossible to serve any home on my end of the street. The house across the street has debris and discarded house furniture in the front yard, like bed frames and mattresses. One house has a jungle in the backyard, a light post in the front yard, and another house was recently featured on the local news because a drug addict climbed into his chimney and died in his house. His front yard and backyard looks like a jungle. Now, you may be wondering, why did I buy my house with all this drama? So I bought my house because my mother is 98 years old, and I love my mother, and I plan on taking care of her during her senior years. And my goal is to restore my street and Cherokee Heights to the coveted neighborhood it was when my mother moved into it and was the first black homeowner there. And I'm going to be coming every first and third Tuesday until this happens. And because this city is committing a crime against me, and every citizen that lives in a blighted neighborhood, the crime I am labeling, I'm coining, is equity theft. Monetary and public safety losses that I incur as a homeowner, I'm losing equity because housing code and zoning code violations are not being enforced on my street, in my neighborhood, and in this city. This is an election year, and blight and public safety records will be a major campaign issue. Thank you for your listening ears, commissioners. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you speaking tonight. And since you brought up blight, I want you to know we've had torn down 631 houses, so we continue to celebrate that. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our business tonight. We do have, when's our next commission meeting? It's going to be next month as we approach Cherry Blossom. We'll be meeting the first Tuesday night of March, and we look forward to seeing each of you there. Anything for the good of the order? No further business that brings us here tonight. This meeting is hereby adjourned.